when we talk about training AI, I mean, what is the level of human involvement where there's still some underlying code, right? These are computers.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what kind of hurts my head. As who are those people, or how is that still a complex thing, or has that really become very trivial?
No, that's what they're all trying to figure out is the programming of telling the computer how to start training itself.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way for it to work at scale is eventually the control has to be given over to the algorithm itself to start setting up those patterns. So it's all the prep work of what do you do to get this thing set up. And that's partly why a lot of people are jumping onto pre-trained models that sort of has a certain amount of learning and patterns and algorithm built into it. Like Meta has released their Llama, which is an open source that anybody can drop it on their computer and start training it on stuff too. But you don't have to be like an AI programmer to run it. And so it is all still technically programming, but the difference between AI and like our traditional programming is when you ask it to do a thing, it used to just do the task. It could either do the task or it wouldn't do it. The way with these neural networks is if it can't find a path, it'll go to another path. And that's where people were complaining, well, ChatGPT is just making stuff up. And that's called a hallucination, where it'll start to just make stuff up. And I learned at a conference I went to, hallucination is not a bug, it's a feature. What we've taught computers to do is to not freak out when it doesn't know the answer and just try to get to the best solution it can try at the time. That's what's revolutionary, is that in previous programming, when something didn't work, it just would stop. This, like a human, we make stuff up all the time. To not look stupid, we do our best. This is where AI is different than traditional programming. Is it won't immediately just stop. It'll find other ways because of this very large, complicated neural network. There isn't just a path A to B here. And now you train the model and see it. But if you see it keep going down the wrong path or doing the wrong things, then you need to kind of scrap stuff and try to get that set up for it to retrain itself and do it in a better pattern that's more efficient. And that's sort of the magic that no one's quite figured out what OpenAI has done that makes it so much better than other people's stuff. There are, like, how are they running this stuff? It looks so much and works so much better than some Microsoft's own stuff or Google's Gemini. Like, what are they doing to train it that's better?
It almost sounds like network traffic over a router, right? Like if your some packet of data is traversing some global network, right? It's gonna find the best path it can to get to its destination.
Right.
And I'm assuming along the way there may be like, oh, that's not available. I'm going this way. I'm going that way. And it almost sounds like AI is in the way this packet that's trying to find its next thing to build, to get closer and closer to the completed state.
Right.
Oh, what if I go to this computer and get, oh, no, that didn't work. I'm going to go here.
Well, I think
kind of bouncing around.
The bouncing part is definitely it, but like the difference is it's like sending a seed over your Wi-Fi, and at the end it's a tree. Because at those points it's making decisions and building on that thing and saying, well, it's going to be this now. And then, I'm going to add this, and I'm going to add this. And that's why when you throw ChatGPT requests and you start to see it just start generating, it's making those decisions in those neural network nodes lightning fast. And it's mathematically like saying, well, this is the most likely one given the context of what you gave. And that's how I've been trained, and that's what I'm going to say. Because if you start asking if you ask the same question over and over at ChatGPT, you'll start to see, it's not like sitting and thinking and saying exactly what it wants. It's not going to, the content from the one question to the next question generally say about the same thing. Because mathematically, from what you've said here to what it thinks you want, it's only going to deviate a little bit. So for those listening to want to try this out, ask it a question and then ask it again, and you'll start to see a pattern of which it's going to answer that specific question. But you add one thing, you add one requirement to it, and its entire pattern has to change because it has to meet what it believes is the mathematical expectation of that addition.
It's almost like the telephone game in a way.
Yes.
It starts out with something, and then ultimately, like you're saying, a seed, and it's supposed to be a tree, but maybe it's supposed to have red blossoms and not purple or something. And it's interesting at the end. They're like, well, that's not exactly the way the telephone game started, but interesting how it got to this,
well,
end state.
And that's how our brains work. If you
Yeah.
ask somebody the same question over and over, there's only so many ways they're going to know how to answer it besides just completely making stuff up.